welcome to the George Mason Basketball Coaches Show. I'm Bill Rowland. We're here at Kelly's Oyster Bar in Fairfax, and we appreciate everybody coming out with us tonight. Jada Brown, the senior guard, is our special guest tonight. We're also going to talk, of course, with the women's basketball coach, Vanessa Blair-Lewis. And, Coach, I know you guys have had just a whirlwind of the last couple of weeks, but let's kind of recap some things. You've clinched the top 3 seed, actually, in the upcoming A-10 tournament. You can't finish any lower than third no matter what happens. Still have a shot at finishing first. If you guys went out, get a little bit of help. So that's always, again, in the back of the mind there. But talk to me about what the last couple weeks has been like for your team. You guys played at 1.6 games in 14 days. I think even it was 4 games in 8 days. Yep. The team, yourself, you guys have to be exhausted at this point.
Oh, man. Yeah, well, you know, some things you can and you can't control. And the weather, Mother Nature, we could not control. And I just think that game with Richmond that got rescheduled, you know, we just it was a Wednesday, a Saturday, a Monday, a Wednesday, and it just kept rolling. But that's what February is about. We call it Figure It Out February, you know, and everybody has something that they're going through, but that's the time when you really find out how relentless your team is. Right. And we showed a lot of relentlessness in this month of February.
You talk about that Richmond game. Obviously, you guys had the setback down at their place the first time around. You come back, you play them literally on one-day rest. You had played on Saturday. The makeup game was on that Monday. Mm-hmm. And I ended up having to call that game, was filling in. And watching both you and Richmond, first off, I mean, it was a highly competitive game. But defensively, you both got after it. But, man, they had a tough schedule kind of along the same thing. It just looked like both teams were leg weary. I was thinking it was going to be, like, up in the 70s, and you guys were both going to be going back and forth. And I think the final score ended up 46-37 or something like that. So 3 of the quarters, they don't even get to double digits. Do you think that was the best defensive 40 minutes you guys played this year?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Without a doubt. I think, obviously, like you said, coming off of that Rhode Island loss, I think that took a lot of wind out of their sail because they knew what was at stake. We all did. And we just didn't play up to par, especially defensively. We've had nights where putting the ball in the hole has been a struggle, but defense has always been at home and it's always traveled. And so we just put the pressure on them after that game against Rhode Island was, don't worry about the scoring. Like, it's going to come. Like, sometimes you get in your own head and you get a mental block until you can see the shot go in. Sometimes that just doesn't happen. It feels like a lid is on the basket. Right. But defense, like, that's just effort. And so they were so locked in mentally, and I said, you know what? If we can't score, then neither can they. So let's give them a whole lot of heck tonight.
Yeah, I know at halftime it was 21-20. You guys came out, and I think the first 3 shots of the half were threes that you made. All of a sudden, that lead goes to 10, and you guys just clamped in. I don't think it got any closer than 7 at any point then in the second half. What was the conversation in the locker room when you are in such a battle? It seems like you said there's a lid on the basket for both teams. I mean, 21-20, a lot of times could be a first quarter score, not necessarily a halftime score. So what was the conversation with them about? Was it, hey, shots are eventually going to fall? And I imagine when those first couple threes went down, all of you on the bench were like, okay, finally, we are going to score. We are going to be able to make baskets tonight.
Yeah, the only key that I had in the locker room that night was play as hard as you can for 40 minutes. Just compete. Like, let the chips fall where they may. Let's not put any pressure on. You have to have 15 and you have to have 20 for us to win. We have to have 3 in double figures. We didn't talk about any of that. We said, compete for 40 minutes and you'll be on the other side with a victory.
Yeah, it came out that way. Your last game that you just played against GW, always nice to get a victory against the crosstown rivals. Always nice also to get a victory on senior day. Talk to me about the 4 players that you guys celebrated on Saturday.
Oh, man, just could not say enough about them. Obviously, Jada Brown, a local hero, Falls Church, a walk-on, actually, that came to the program, came from a really great high school program, and we really knew that she had something special. You know, a lot of players have that thing that they do, and Jada had that thing. She hustles on defense, and she can shoot the ball. And so what we've seen over these last 4 years is her just buying in. Just asking and doing whatever we've asked her to do, showing up, coming early, staying late. She's an amazing young woman to coach. Never had anything back, but yes, ma'am, no, sir. And she just brought her pail every single day. And I know there were a lot of games during her journey where she didn't even get off the bench.
Right.
And now she's one of the players that we absolutely depend on showing up every night. So it's been really good to be a part of her journey. And I think that she has a lot to show some of the younger players that everybody wants to come in and play. But for her, it was about doing the work first,
Right.
and she did that. Awa Kamora cannot say enough about her. Obviously, she's been in this conference for 4 years and was able to spend her 5th year with us, relentless on the boards. I think in that Richmond game you were talking about, she had Rhode Island game, she had 6 or 7 rebounds in 2 minutes. It was absolutely crazy, and that's just what she's brought to the team. But she's also brought a quiet leadership, where she doesn't have to say a whole lot, but she does it by example. And all of the girls follow behind that and say, hey, you know what, if she can get in there and get 16 rebounds, let us go get 2 at least, right? We can help out. You have MJ, who, transferred to us from Ball State, just gives us so much dimension. She can play inside, she can play outside. She's been able to hit the 3 a lot more consistently this time in her career. Just a fire plug in the locker room, has a voice, uses it, communicates well with her teammates. It was really good to see her family come out just when we were in Chicago, and then the very next game, her family's back out here supporting her. So it's always good to see that, and everybody knows Zaza, just how amazing her journey has been, coming in injured with an ACL and spending that whole year just rehabbing and never looking back from it. Never wore a knee brace, has been on almost every mid-season watch, and we talked about her last time. She's the epitome of the steps you take to become a pro.
It's interesting because I know on your social media they all read their basic letters to basketball, and it was interesting to see all the different journeys that they all took, but arrived basically at the same place here in Fairfax.
I was reading them, and I should not have before the game. I was just so impressed with them. I love those letters because everybody picks this ball up at a different time. Mm-hmm. Some of them not till high school, some when they're like itty bitties, and you want to know why they fell in love with it.
Right.
And I was in the office just crying. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got to pull myself together. But I was just so proud to be along the journey with these young women, that they found something that they love, and they were able to carry it on to not just on the court, but they were able to get an education out of it, friendships that'll last a lifetime, coaches like us that'll be in their life for the rest of their life. It's a really perfect love story.
Yeah, it's really cool to see, and not only are they great players, but great human beings as well.
Absolutely.
All of them reading their stuff, so we appreciate it. Coach, I'm going to get you off the hot seat. We got to get one of your players in here. Going to talk to Jada Brown next when we come back on the other side. It's the George Mason Basketball Coaches Show right here at Kelly's Oyster House and Bar in Fairfax. Welcome back to the George Mason Basketball Coaches Show. Vanessa Blair-Lewis will join us in our final segment coming up in just a bit. Right now, we're joined by the senior guard of the Patriots, Jada Brown. And Jada, you've started 22 of 26 games this season, shooting 36% from behind the arc, which is right up there near the top of the team, averaging 7 points a game. Welcome. We appreciate you coming out.
Thank you.
I want to start off, we were just talking to Coach Blair-Lewis about it. Your senior night, that letter to basketball that you wrote, how long did it take you when you sat down and started writing? How long did it take you to figure out what you wanted to say about all that?
Not long at all, honestly. I think it was just something that kind of came from the heart. It's just something that I've been feeling just over the years of me playing and everything, so it kind of just flowed.
You had your senior night, senior day a couple games ago. You still have one more coming up on Wednesday that you'll get to suit up and play there at Eagle Bank Arena. But coming in as a freshman to now, all the things you've gone through, winning an A-10 title and everything else, how fast have these 4 years flown by for you?
I think just looking back, time has really flown. I think in the moment of things like the workouts or the practices, the long film sessions, I think in the moment it's like, dang, I wish this was over. But then now it's like I look back and, I'm really just grateful for it all because it's definitely been a journey, but I'm forever grateful for it.
I'm sure there are times when you guys have had a tough practice, like you said, tough film session. Mm-hmm. You're like, man, I don't want to do this. And now you're probably looking back and saying, maybe I wish I had one more year of this, maybe a couple more years of it. Is that kind of way the feeling is, that all of a sudden it hits you like, wow, I'm down to the last few weeks of my career maybe?
Yeah, it's like I got 2 regular season games left and then we're on to the playoffs and everything. So kind of just looking back on it,
We were talking to Coach Lewis about that stretch that you guys just finished, the 6 games in 14 days, 4 and 8. She talked about how the coaching staff we were talking before the show was it was just like we just need a day because it was just constant. How did you guys feel as players going through that? Do you like it better where it's like, okay, next game, you're not in the 3 or 4 days of practice? Or did you feel at any point, hey, you know what, we need a day to just kind of decompress?
I think definitely after the Rhode Island game, we had a tough film session, but I think it was definitely needed. But even after that, I think the whole team, like our biggest thing was just continuing to try and win after that. I don't think we ever really got down on ourselves because we kind of all know like the big picture and everything. And I think we carried that on into the Richmond game. I think it was a big difference. And so I think as a team, we definitely all needed that.
You are a great example, in my opinion, for younger players, whether they're in high school or even younger than that, because you came to Mason as a walk-on. You played sparingly your first year, played 20 games, started a couple, but you only averaged about 9 minutes a game. Last year as a junior, averaged 13 minutes a game. Now, after you've been through all the grind, improving yourself and everything else, now you're starting, your minutes have doubled and all that. I think it's a great testament to just not waiting your turn, but plying your trade and then earning your way to the point that you go from a walk-on to being a key starter on an A-10 championship team. What was that journey like for you to come to Mason and decide, you know what, even though I'm not on scholarship, I'm still going to try to work through this thing, and now here you are as a senior, as a key player in this team?
I think the two big factors would probably be like a family-oriented team, and then just a team where I feel like I could grow. And I think Mason was just that. Even me walking on, I still had to find a school I wanted to choose, and I think those are the two biggest factors just of me making that decision. And I think the growth part, even when I got here, like our record, it was okay, but just seeing like just over the 4 years, like the growth that just us as a team, and then winning A-10 and then going to March Madness, I think that's definitely a testimony just of us, as a team, like as a whole.
Well, talk to me about that, because it's a lot easier now for local products, no matter if they're playing public school, private school around here, to say, you know what, Mason's a place that I can go to now and win because of all the success that you guys have had. They were coming off a 10-19 season when you joined this team 4 years ago. What was it about coming to Mason that you saw, you know what, there's going to be success while I'm at that program?
It was actually my first practice at Mason. It was just an eye-opener. And I think it was a tough practice for me, but after that, just the way that the players came up to me and they just kind of acknowledged how I was feeling. They told me like, hey, this is just a part of the process. I think that was the biggest thing for me. And that's just something that it's just something that I'm not going to forget. And I think that that's just the point.
You've set 3 career highs this year. You had 14 earlier in the season against Rider, 17 against VCU, then dropped 20 on the road at Dayton with 6 out of 7 from behind the arc. Great performance. How do you make sure that you are doing what you need to do when you're asked to score, knowing though that you still have players like Zahira Walton and Kennedy Harris that need to get their touches? You as a kind of a point guard and off-the-ball guard at times, you got to make sure everybody's getting their looks, but you still, when you have to, you got to take advantage as well. How do you balance that? Because I'm sure in high school, like everyone who comes and plays D1, you're probably a main focus of the offense. You're not necessarily the main focus. You can score. You've proven that. How do you make sure everybody stays happy?
Yeah, Ken and Zah, they're great. I think, when teams scout us, they're definitely the main priority. But I think there's beauty in that as well, just as far as not even just me, but just the rest of my team has been able to have an opportunity for open shots. So I say just for me, like, if the shot's open, just take it. If it's not, then, there's other ways that I can affect the game.
You're one of the players that came back after going to the NCAA tournament last year. What was the message, or what has been the message to the new players this year, whether the freshmen, transfers coming in, that, hey, this is what we're trying to get back to. We're not happy for just doing it once. We're trying to do it again. What's that been like to try to bring these new players in and say, this is how we do things here?
I would say just buying in, and then just trying to set the standard for them. I think half of us are returners and then the rest are transfers and freshmen. So just trying to set the standard for them and just tell them, like, hey, this is what it takes. Like, this is what you have to do in order to be successful at that level.
All right, Jada Brown, senior guard for the George Mason Patriots. We appreciate you coming out. 2 more regular season games, like you said. Then go down and see them down at the A-10 tournament in Henrico. We appreciate you stopping by with us. Coach Blair Lewis back on the other side. We'll talk about the A-10 tournament coming up when we return. Welcome back to the George Mason Basketball Coaches Show. Vanessa Blair Lewis rejoining us here in Fairfax. We are here at Kelly's Oyster House and Bar, and we just heard from your senior guard, Jada Brown. Awesome to hear from her. Again, we talked about it, coming from a walk-on to getting that scholarship to being a key cog. And I loved her answer about, hey, you know what? Everybody's going to scout Walton and Kenny Harris, but when I get my open looks, I'm going to take them. I'm not going to say saved you guys at Dayton, but was a big part of you guys picking up that road win when she had 6 of 7 from beyond the arc.
She has saved us several times, several times. And, you know, I tease, our staff teases a lot, but we would love to have played with Ken and Zai and Awa because all the focus is on them, and I was going to rebound for you and kick it out. So if I'm any of the other two, I'm about to get mine tonight because I know they're going to double team and focus on them, and I think Jada does a great job at that. Like, when it's her time to show up and hit shots, and, you know, sometimes they don't even – it's hard to stop all of us.
Right.
Right. And so when Jada got hot at Dayton, we just kept feeding her. And there's no selfishness or jealousy or I have to get we just get in the flow. And Jada has been a recipient of being in really the good place at the right time.
Well, you talk about that. I mean, the two, by percentage, best three-point shooters are Mary and Jada. The two that you wouldn't necessarily focus on if you're scouting your team. You're like, we got to watch out for Walt. We got to watch out for Harris. You can't let them get offensive rebounds and stickbacks. And then the other two are just going to dagger you from the outside. So, I mean, it's great to have that kind of balance and the ability that you have a Jada Brown that can go for 20. You have a Mary that can get 17, 18 against one of the top teams in the conference when she did it against Richmond. The balance is amazing. 2 regular season games left. You got Wednesday against St. Joe's. You got Saturday on the road to Duquesne, and then the A-10 tournament comes around. Coaches always talk about wanting to play their best basketball end of February, early March. Do you feel like that's starting to come for your team, that you're ramping up and playing some of your best basketball?
Yeah, I think we're right on schedule.
Okay.
You know, and a lot of people say, oh, I know you wish you would have won. I know you wish you would have. Nah, not necessarily. I think you can still win in a loss.
Okay.
You know, and we've done that. Sometimes you can say it so much, you know, as a parent, don't put your hand on the stove, it's hot. Until they touch it,
right.
And then it's like, okay, you know, we got you now. And I think that was the result of the rebounding from a loss like a Rhode Island. It's like, you know what, we're better than what we're showing right now. We got to show up. We got to do it for 40 minutes. We got to play for each other. And the shots are going to come when they come, and everybody just take the pressure off and just know what the ultimate goal is. And I think that's exactly where we are right now.
Yeah, the ultimate goal, obviously, to win the A-10 tournament, get back to the NCAAs. But I would imagine on a smaller level, if you win one of your last 2 games or both, you're going to get to 20 wins on the season. It'll be the 3rd consecutive year. Never been done in program history before. So while that's not the, end-all, be-all of the goals, that's still got to feel pretty good if you get to those 20, 21-plus wins because it's never been done before.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think it's all we do it for what's never been done before. It's chasing excellence. And that's what this program and the staff is about. We want to set a standard of excellence. And for us, excellence is putting our best foot forward every single night. And if 20 wins shows that, hey, that was what you did, that was the mark, or going to the tournament, that was the mark, we're striving for whatever that excellence in that bar is, and we hold our ladies to that standard as well. And so it would be really great to get to 20 wins. I mean, that's what defines a really great season, right? But I think for me, what defines a great season are graduating young ladies that are going to be amazing professionals in the world. They're going to be amazing leaders on top of winning.
You've had great fan experiences coming out for the last couple of years. I think you guys are close to averaging 1,400 again at home games this season. Again, you got one more home game to come out, so let's go ahead and do that. Pack the place on Wednesday. How much does that support help elevate this program? And how much of it, because I went down for a couple of the games last year when you guys won the A-10 title, and I think Mason fans were some of the loudest that were there the entire weekend. So they've traveled, they support this team. How much has that impacted what you've been able to do here?
Well, I think what it does for our ladies is it gives them value, it makes them feel valued, especially when you come out of that tunnel and from our first year where it's maybe 30-some people there and you barely could, you can hear a pin drop, and then you come out and you hear a roar. And it's not just the roar of the adults screaming, but you hear young girls screaming for their favorite players, waiting in the hallway to say, can I take a picture with Jada? Can I take a picture with Zaza? Like, they're now these young girls heroes.
Right.
And so it's great to have that. If there's a buy-in, and we play for the community. Fairfax is our community, it's our home. And so yeah, we have one more home game, and then we have a tournament in Henrico that we'd like to see the community travel down to play, see us play as well.
It's not that far of a drive, only about 90 minutes, so please come on down. I'm going to try to make a couple of the games down there with you guys. Let me ask you a coaching perspective here in about 30 seconds, if you can break this down for me. I know you guys are going to be a top 4 seed, so you have no idea who you're going to play until less than 24 hours before you play them. How hard is it to prep when it could be one of 3 different teams that you could play when you're going into that tournament? How do you do that the 3 or 4 days ahead of time?
Well, I think the beauty is you've played everybody.
Right.
So you have some type of evidence, whether you played them twice, whether you played them one time, there's evidence there. So there's film you can go to and watch. But I think the beauty of what we do all year for our players is it doesn't matter who's up next. It's just the next game. And we don't look too far down the road. We don't look at, we have 2 games left. No, we have 1 game left. That's the only thing we can control is Wednesday night's game against St. Joe's. And I think it's boded well for us the entire season. So whoever it is, that is just going to be the next game. And it's not like the NCAA tournament where you've never played this team. We would have seen them before. So
Right.
There will be some evidence. There'll be some footage.
Well, hopefully we will see a lot of these folks down at Henrico. If you want to join the Patriots at the Henrico Sports and Event Center March 4th through 8th as they look to repeat as A-10 champions, call the ticket office at 703-993-3270 or go to gomason.com/WBBA10 to get your tickets and follow them down in Richmond. Thanks for joining us tonight. We appreciate it. And hopefully we'll see you at Eagle Bank Arena on Wednesdays. The women take on St. Joe's.
7 p.m.